action. Hello, meal gardeners. I am Jeff, and today I am joined by Jen Vasey and Laura McLennan, who are both metabolic balance coaches. And Jen is actually the CEO of Metabolic Balance. And today we're going to talk about what metabolic balance is, the partnership between Meal Garden and Metabolic Balance, and really dive into how metabolic balance can help you build your program, succeed, and really build a thriving nutrition practice. Jen, how you doing today?
Hi, I'm so good, Jeff. Thank you so much for having us here. Happy to be here.
Great. And Laura, how you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks, Jeff. And yes, of course, thanks for having me here today. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great, great. And I wanted to just start off real quick with the congratulations. I am also in the revenue generation business, and I am happy to have you both here as top coaches, which means you have done a spectacular job engaging and helping your clients succeed. So I'm looking forward to hearing what your secrets are, more about the Metabolic Balance program, and also learning maybe some tips and tricks on how to really help our clients succeed and thrive. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Great.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
excited.
So I think always best place to start is with a bit of an origin story. So Jen, if you want to start kind of just tell us a bit about how you found metabolic balance and kind of, I think, how many years have you been working with metabolic balance now?
I'm in my fifth year now.
Fifth year. So let's hear about how'd you find metabolic balance? What was
Okay,
it that
so
drove you to it?
I have been a nutritionist. I graduated in 2013, and so I was running nutrition programs. I became a certified personal trainer, and then I was a GM of a gym where I was running nutrition and fitness programs out of the gym. While I was working there in 2016, somebody introduced me to metabolic balance, and always in the back of my mind, I was like, that makes sense. Lab-based nutrition protocol. They run
Mm,
your blood work. They look exactly what's going on in your body specifically, imbalances, deficiencies, hormones, glucose levels, inflammatory marker, everything. And then they create a personalized nutrition protocol. And I always resonated with me as that's the answer. So I was always really interested in getting certified. But like so many, really busy schedule, two kids, running fitness clubs, it wasn't until 2020 when all the fitness clubs shut down that I thought, you know what? I'm going to become certified. I'm going to take the metabolic balance certification. I'll start
mm.
supporting a few people I know, some friends and family. Especially during that time, people were struggling, right? For after a few months in, everyone was literally just drinking wine and baking bread. That seemed to be what everybody was doing. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to help some friends and family. So I took the certification and I did just that. I started working with just a few friends, a few family members. These are the people who matter most to me. So it was really important that their protocol was effective. And oh my gosh, the results were unbelievable. They couldn't believe. So for so many of them, yes, they were struggling with weight or always have been, but it was so much more than that. Their hormonal balance, their quality of life, just everything that they were able to accomplish. And then so they started telling a few friends and family, and they're like, oh, I want to work with you. I want to work with you. And I was like, yeah, of course. And metabolic balance was changing lives. And so when it came time to go back to work, when the world kind of started opening back up again, I knew that this is what I had to do. I just knew it. So I resigned from a very full-time corporate position and I focused solely on metabolic balance. And so it's been incredible. It's been absolutely incredible. The amount of lives that I've been a part of, their change. It's been amazing. So I did just that. So I focused on offering such a tailored solution. It's been so effective. And then fast forward to last year when I was working with several clients. I partnered with the existing license holder of Canada, and I was like, I want to have a wider reach with this program. Like, more people need to experience this program. And so that's when her and I partnered. And then fast forward to today, I am the CEO, so I can focus more on supporting our team of coaches so that they can support more and more clients with such an incredible program. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell. And here we are.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit. Now, you said you graduated in 2013.
Yeah.
From what program?
IHN was my final program. Yeah.
IHN. Okay, cool. So you graduated from IHN and then you started working, and then it sounds like in 2020 with the lockdown and all that stuff, you're like, what do I do? So you were looking for another program, and what made you pick Metabolic Balance?
So again, I had been in the health and wellness nutrition industry for years, even prior to 2013. That's when I became like I finished my program and started educating nutrition. And so my nutrition protocols are based on symptomology and assessments. And you can only get so accurate based on someone's description of how they're feeling. And so
Mm,
when someone told me that metabolic balance, they're scientifically backed to work, their program runs a full panel of labs. So metabolic balance is in Germany. That's where metabolic balance originated, and
mhm,
it's in 36 different countries. And
mhm,
so there's a medical team of doctors in Germany where they take care of everything for you. So they run the blood work. We're not responsible as nutritionists to run labs at all. They give you a requisition form. You give the requisition form to your client, and your responsibility is to relay the results. You get the results and you send them to the medical team of doctors in Germany. And so, two main things. Number one, I was like, that's it. Like, that's what really resonated with me was that it's personalized nutrition based on exactly what's going on in their client in my client's specific chemistry. But the second piece is it really, really leveled up my credibility as a nutritionist that I send my
mm.
client for blood work. Even though it is beyond our scope of practice and I'm not responsible for those results, but now when I'm sending you for blood work and I'm creating a protocol based on what's happening in your body, that's what really, really added a lot of strength and structure and growth to my business, is because that's what people want. They don't want a one size fits all. They don't want that cookie cutter approach because we know it doesn't work. We all have unique individual needs. And so that's what I've loved so much about metabolic balance. In hindsight, I should have become a coach when I first heard about it years ago. I look back and I'm like, oh my goodness, imagine I had become a coach then. But everything unravels for a reason. And I'm just beyond grateful to be where I am today.
I'd love what you said about symptomology. Is that the word you use?
Mhm.
Symptomology. So I think that's so powerful that you can only go so far with what someone's telling you, right? And there's all kinds of interesting reasons for that. But I think that was what I really heard there is like this
Mhm.
is a like an additional, very powerful kind of arrow in your quiver in the sense of, hey, I can do all kinds of things. This will give us an unbiased opinion or an unbiased map of how we can actually help you. Is that accurate? Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
It is. And I will tell you, we have some incredible, phenomenal coaches in our team and nutritionists. And one of our top nutritionists, she's highly, highly regarded in her field of work. She would sit there and tell you, she's like, I'm good. I'm very good. And prior to metabolic balance, doing a symptomology assessment, I could nail a nutrition plan 70% of the time. And that's good. That's really good. She's like, with metabolic balance, I nail their nutrition plan 99.999% of the time. It's completely transformed her business. And this is someone who is very good at what she does. So it's the key. It makes the world of difference.
Okay, great. So let's shift gears a bit here. And Laura, let's now that you've heard Jen's story, why don't you tell us your story and kind of interested in anything that really resonates, but also anything that might be different in your kind of origin story and kind of how you got here.
Oh, well, I'm a scientist first, Jeff. I've
Okay.
been a scientist, a biologist, actually, for about 20 years before I
Oh,
actually
neat.
moved into the holistic nutrition realm. So, as a biologist, science is always at the heart of how I approach probably everything. But around 2016, I went back to school. I went back to school part-time. I was ill myself,
Mm,
realizing that I was really struggling to find answers and just diving into nutrition. It was always an important part of my life, but diving into it more holistically in terms of the whole body, I realized that just some simple changes made a world of difference for how I felt. So knowing that I was in the corporate world and needed to get out of that life, and nutrition spoke to me on so many levels. So going back to school really fit well. When I finished my schooling, I had my certification in live blood analysis. I was a certified holistic nutritionist. And I started my practice and just left the corporate world without looking back and never hesitated. Launched into my practice of doing live blood analysis, but also providing nutrition plans. But I still went back to that science brain of mine. And I was never interested in fads or, guesswork. I really wanted something more specific than something that would treat the masses. And I was seeing a lot of women struggling with symptoms like, stubborn weight gain, that fatigue, hormonal shifts,
Mm,
and they weren't getting real answers at all. And I was also seeing people with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, who also wanted to lose weight, but were really struggling. And all of that was very food driven. And I just thought if I can find a program that I could get behind wholeheartedly from a science perspective, just because I was a biologist at heart, then I knew that was going to elevate my business. So I just started to dig. I just started to research different weight loss programs, and I discovered metabolic balance. And it honestly just clicked from the get-go. It's rooted in blood biochemistry
right.
and really truly personalized nutrition. So finally I felt like I found a system that I could trust scientifically and also support wholeheartedly. And and I really found that it wasn't about willpower or restriction. It was about giving the body what it actually needed based on
Mm,
real data. And that's what motivated me. So I knew that right away that was the missing link for so many people that I worked with. Not only myself personally, but I could see it for all of my clients.
great.
And Jen, you made a really important point about that symptomatology. And what I found was that a lot of people weren't feeling a lot of the symptoms that their blood chemistry was telling us. So in their blood labs, we would see a lot of things going on and they didn't realize.
Mhm.
So that was also a really important piece too that I found, wow, okay, this is where you're at. This is how we're going to shift that just with food.
Mhm.
It was really powerful. It was a very powerful moment when I realized how important this level of science could be for nutrition and elevating people's health and wellness.
Mhm.
Ah, very interesting. So kind of a similar idea that this blood work or what the metabolic balance program does, building on what Jen said, actually uncovers things that people don't even know. They're like,
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
know, I wasn't able to connect those dots myself, but now that we have these results, we can build on our strengths. That sounds really cool. And it also sounds interesting. You both have a little bit of a different origin story. I think there's a common element there of the entrepreneurial spirit. So you're in corporate, it's okay, we're doing well, and you're like, I just I just want to do something on my own. There's this other layer of I want to help people, right? I want to help people. And then kind of that idea of, hey, I got a good practice going, it's running, everything's going well, but I'm missing something here. And
Mhm.
and that's where metabolic balance came in. And when you found it, it sounds like what you're both saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that hey, metabolic balance really vibed because it's like it's very natural and it's food based. So it's not gimmicky, there's no tricks. It's like, hey, we're gonna look at who you are. DNA is not the right terminology, but from that level, and we're gonna actually give your body what it needs when it needs it in a way that helps you, just helps your body grow, move, respond better. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. And one thing that you really nailed is every single one of our coaches on our team has their own origin and their own story, but every
Yeah.
single one of them has the same two things in common. We
Okay.
have you go to school to heal and to help holistic nutrition or naturopathic doctor or whatever your field is because you know you can make a difference and you want to have that impact in people's lives. And so number one, you know you want to help. But number two, they are seeking a different type of freedom, a freedom and flexibility of having their own business, creating their own schedule, being able to work from a computer virtually anywhere in the world. And sometimes the burnout of a corporate role takes too much of a toll on their own health. And so wanting to help and seeking a little bit of their own freedom, I'd say is what all of our coaches have in common.
Okay. And I think that you would see that in the meal garden community as well. All the meal garden,
Yeah.
anybody that uses meal garden has a similar drive or desire, right? So here's an interesting pivot, Jen. And this is always a fun conversation because you're actually moving from helping clients to helping coaches,
Mhm.
right? So I think that's an interesting move. And I'm curious as to like, just talk a little bit about how's that going and what was the driver for you to say, you know what? I think I'm going to be more effective helping other coaches build out their playbooks and figuring out how to like tell me more about that.
Yeah. So there was two key things for me. Number one, I hit capacity taking on clients. I literally month after month after month, my calendar was full. You booked sometimes it was booked out for months to be able to get in with me. So number one, I was like, if I hit my capacity and I can only physically see this many people month after month while giving myself that freedom and that balance, how can I have a wider reach? So I knew I could have a wider reach by working with our team of coaches and expanding how many people that they can see. So that was my biggest motivation was that I've seen so much good come out of the program like we've talked about. I wanted to be able to help more people. So that was number one. Number two, I saw a few gaps in being in coaching with the program for about 4 years. I saw a few things that I knew would be really beneficial to our coaches. And
Mm,
so we talk about this. So many of our coaches are just they're outstanding, incredible, knowledgeable, amazing humans who really they're rooted in health, wellness, and they want to help. But where sometimes our coaches can struggle, and a lot of people can struggle, is how do I build a business out of this though? How do I take
hmm
what I'm so passionate about and actually package it up into something that's a deliverable so that I can have a thriving business, so I can take a step back from maybe a corporate position that is, stressful or whatever it is. And that's what I knew I could help with. So I created a Build Your Business program, which is a part of our certification program. And I've created a lot more elements to be more supportive for our coaches to be able to actually grow their business. And one
mm,
direction that we're taking a strong pivot on right now in the metabolic balance world is actually also pairing clients with our coaches as well to really also help them grow their business too. So that's really where it was my direction.
hmm hmm I think that sounds great. And it's not, you just mentioned that you're pairing coaches with clients, which is awesome. Um, I think that one of the things about there's two aspects of building a business. One is finding clients, and one is helping clients succeed, right? So
Yeah.
um, I think that's really, really interesting. And working with coaches rather than working with clients is a little bit of a different thing. So, what's one thing you've noticed, like a change in that approach that surprised you?
I'd have to say the thing that because I do come from a bit of that entrepreneurial background, I don't think not everybody does. They come to us and they want to help. So what I want to say sort of surprised me, but also didn't surprise me was I could see that people were really struggling with like, okay, how do I actually launch myself and how do I get clients? Because that did seem to come a little bit more organically to me. Just
Hmm
things just started, referrals, results equal referrals, referrals equal growth. And before I knew it, I was booked out. But there's a level of consistency in things that I do to maintain those referrals coming in. And so you're right. The results we've nailed down 99.999. Like the results speak for themselves. So we have that nailed down. Our next piece is the referrals and the growth. And that's the biggest thing that I can support our coaches with.
I hear that too, and I hear the word referrals. Everybody loves referrals. I think sometimes people miss that referrals come from strong execution,
Mhm.
right? Like if you execute really well and really listen to your clients and they find success, they will naturally talk about it. People want to talk about success, especially in this environment. Um,
Yes.
so there's
And
that part
they
of it. Go
And they
ahead.
typically share it with the people that matter most to them. Because when
Oh,
all of a
okay.
sudden you transform your health in the most positive way, you want that for the people that you love. You want that for your parents, your siblings, your best friends. You're like, this has been so amazing. I really want you to be able to experience it as well. So, from a coaching standpoint, I can say I've never spent a dime on advertising. I have almost 1,000 metabolic balance clients to date, and it has strictly been through results. It has been through results equal referrals. However, where metabolic balance is going to invest in advertising is to strengthen the brand, more brand awareness, and then yes, pairing those clients with coaches so that we can really make sure that we continue to support our team of coaches so that they can have thriving, successful businesses. But then once you get those few clients, the referrals start to roll in. They speak for themselves.
Ah, got it. So you're going to try and get the ball rolling, help clients that way. I think that's awesome. And more brand recognition,
Yeah, so we
that
have a
always helps as
whole
well.
business side of the program now that does teach you how to grow your own business, how to
Oh,
leverage
great.
things, working online, social media. That's all included in your certification, but we're going to take that one step further with actual direct advertising to our new in-house directory for our coaches to help pair them with clients as well.
Very interesting. So I hear things kind of coming together, right? So you've got your nutrition background, you care about helping people. Symptomology can only go so far. So okay, we find metabolic balance, really natural, proven approach through blood analysis to help build these individualized programs. In addition to that, you're also layering on some business training. So hey, not
Yeah.
only do you care about people, you've got a little bit of a background, some certification of some sort in nutrition counseling, these kinds of things. Oh, I just lost Jen. Oh,
I'm here.
and we're back. And then layering on top of that, business building. So that all sounds excellent. Um, let's pivot a little bit, Laura, and talk more up, kind of narrow in on your successes. And, I think a lot of people listening to this are going to want to know a couple secrets, right? So maybe, Laura, what we can do is talk about the success you've found through metabolic balance, as well as maybe some tips or tricks that you guys used to really get those first couple clients or to keep them engaged. I think the people are always interested in that, right? Like how do you go from 0 to 1 and then from 1 to 10 and 10 to 100, but 0 to 1 is that's always the hardest step I find. What do you think, Laura?
It is. I agree. 0 to 1, and you have this fresh new program, and you're really excited about it. And how do you get it out the gate? That is a good question. And I have to say that Metabolic Balance Canada is top tier in their support for their coaches. Unlike any corporation I've ever been associated with, I cannot say enough about how much support they give them in so many platforms. It's any question at any time about anything is 100% supported. So, and I don't come across a lot of companies like that. So I'm very proud and honored to be associated with such a highly regarded company in my eyes. And Jen is a really big part of that. So Jen has sort of elevated metabolic balance in Canada. So yeah, if anybody's ever thinking about, aligning with a company, I cannot say enough about it. So um, that in itself has transformed my business in just aligning with such a professional company. But getting from 0 to 1, I think every metabolic balance coach, when they're certified, gets the opportunity to then have their own experience. Um, Once I started my own experience, I could not wait for everyone else around me to try it. Even through the training, I would, at that time, I was a busy mom. I was working full time. I was studying part time. I would take all my load of books to whatever sport event I had to drag my kids to. And I would be over there just studying away. And I would go to all these parents like, do you have any idea like what an apple a day can do for you? So it was just these organic conversation I was having from a place of passion.
Mm.
And when I got certified, of course, everybody knew about it because I couldn't wait to talk about it. And it was that organic conversation over time that piqued a lot of people's interest. They were like, okay, so you're done. Tell me about it. Like, can I do it? And so it grew very organically for me. My very first client, of course, was my husband, and he had seen my excitement and passion through the training over, the course of a few months that I took it. And he was also excited because I would be telling him all these, science pieces of information that resonated with me, but I would transition it into everyday life. And so when he did it, he was also excited about it. And then he physically saw the difference. And all the people that he was connected to saw the difference. And then he started speaking about it. And then all of these men were, people that I didn't ever expect for it to resonate with them. I started getting them coming to me saying, "Hey, I want to do what John's doing." And it really did grow. And I have to agree with Jen, um, that my business just grew through referrals. I have not spent any money on marketing or
Mm.
advertising. And I think what really made the difference I just had to resonate on this yesterday for another talk, was what is the difference in my business? And it's connection. And I really do value connection with my clients. And I think that's what makes a difference, for me in my business. And it's delivering such a powerful program, and seeing the results and celebrating the individual. And I think just bringing metabolic balance into my practice was the turning point. And I've never looked back. Actually, I've now changed my offer to be only solely metabolic balance.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's just because I know now that the value is there, and helping, like Jen, helping as many people as we can. I do also want to just spread the word and get it out to as many people as I can. And when I was offering two offers within my business, I just didn't have the reach that I felt like I wanted to. So just this spring, I have just changed the offer that I have, and I'm going solely with metabolic balance. And I think it's just given me that science-backed framework that aligned perfectly with my training and my values.
Mm.
And more importantly, it's giving my clients results. And I think that's, in knowing that connection with my clients is so valuable to me, seeing their results brings me just joy and so much satisfaction in what I do every day. But I went from offering, this general nutrition advice to delivering really, truly personalized, strategic support. And that changed everything. And so now I work primarily with women midlife, that are ready for clarity. They're ready for real solutions.
Mm.
They, metabolic balance will offer them like grounded, an offer that's grounded. It's an effective solution for everything that they're looking for. So
I
right
think
now,
it's,
I'd say
yeah.
my business is more focused, it's more personalized, the outcomes are stronger, my clients feel more empowered, they're not confused anymore. And that's the impact that I was looking for when I became a practitioner.
Well, that's spectacular. And it sounds like, again, there's these threads that I'm listening to as I hear, because I'm trying to figure out who is the ideal candidate to pick up, to add metabolic balance, add that arrow to their quiver. And it sounds like the kind of persona you're getting, somebody who is super passionate about helping people succeed and is really open to getting out there and talking to people, starting conversations, right? I remember one of one of the things we lived by when in the sales environment, selling enterprise, so was always keep the conversation going. That was one of our kind of mantras, was just keep the conversation going, keep talking, just keep talking to people, keep talking to
Yeah.
people, keep talking to people, and eventually those people are going to want to get engaged in what you're doing. It'll kind of snap. So really being open to having those conversations, talking about, sounds like talking about the success, or even just like words of wisdoms. It sounds like, Laura, like when you were at the arenas and stuff, you're like, did you know this thing?
Yeah.
And people are like, oh wow, that's great. And I think the other thing about metabolic balance, the metabolic balance program, is it's not, again, I don't like the term fad. I don't like, but there's no it's just nice and simple, right? Like we're gonna do some analysis. You're you and everybody's a little different. And this analysis is gonna help us work together for you to feel better, right? And it's that simple.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of magic or there's no pills or these kinds of things. It's just, hey, we're gonna focus on getting you in line with what your body wants and what it needs. And I think the other thing that I love about metabolic is it's very tribal. Is that a good term? Like in the sense of you get to know your coach, right? You're there to help this person. And I, as a client or as someone who's looking for that kind of help, I think it's very nice to know that there's a human there. And I would imagine sometimes as coaches, you guys sometimes feel like psychologists, right? Sometimes the conversation gets way off food, right? Or way off eating, but that's important too. That's what people want when they're in a spot of not feeling their best. That's when people really need someone to talk to or a community of people all working towards that same outcome. I don't know. I'm not sure how that lands with you guys, but that's kind of what I'm hearing. And that's been my experience helping people is we all want to be part of something, right?
You touched on something, Jeff, that was really important for me when I was looking at what to bring into my practice. And it's just food. And everyone has to buy food and prep meals and have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And this wasn't anything proprietary. It wasn't claiming any magic pill. And that's exactly what I was looking for. It was really something that was basic, fundamental, and doable for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I'll
So,
even, I mean, to touch on that, like Laura said, a lot of people we see, or we work with a lot of, I mean, we work with all walks of life, but a lot of times midlife or perimenopause. And so
mm,
when you have a client come to you and they're explaining all the things that they're struggling with, in addition to that, they have a very busy life. A lot of times they're running to their kids to sports, but then sometimes they're also taking care of their parents who are maybe going through health issues. They're trying to climb their corporate ladder. They're keeping their marriage alive. They're trying to do all of these things, and then on top of it, they're having all of these changes that are happening in their own body. So the point is that they need a realistic protocol. Simple, realistic, whole food, get it at the grocery store. What do I need to eat? Why the ratio of nutrients are so important for stable blood sugars to keep my inflammatory marker low. All of those things, it's very simple. And when something is as simple, like Laura said, a very doable protocol, people see results, they feel amazing, and they tell other people it was so realistic and so manageable. And then the other thing I'll just touch on that Laura talked about, that client connection, because I used to spend way more time outside of my time with the client than I would with the client because I was researching their symptoms, I was creating their plans and their
mm,
programs, I was logging onto their apps to check their logs and all of these things. And when you are consuming yourself having to do all of that, you're leaving yourself little time for the client connection. Now you can wholeheartedly count on metabolic balance to produce an extremely effective plan, and you can generate your plan in 10 minutes. You enter everything that you need to for your client, so then you actually get the ability to do what you love to do and is actually help people. And so that's a huge, huge difference that I was able to flip to is plans done, all the work is done for me. I actually just get to talk to my clients, see my clients, support my clients, have more regular accountability check-ins with them, and
mm-hmm.
that's what they appreciate. So yeah.
Gotcha. So real pivot from kind of busy work or admin work into real impactful work of talking to your clients and helping them work through things
Huge.
and really getting out there and talking about it. I love it. So here's the thing, and I'm also just want to make sure that I'm clear about this. Metabolic balance, you can have a practice, and again, metabolic balance is an arrow in your quiver if you so desire. Like if you do
Yeah.
other things, it's something that you can say, hey, you know what? I think you're a great candidate for the metabolic balance program. Let's get you into that. But if it doesn't fit a particular need for a particular client, you don't have to do it, right? That's the idea.
And we do have a lot who have practices like Laura started with live blood cell analysis, or they have other services that they offer. Absolutely. We do find, like Laura, a lot will pivot to the
Yeah, yeah,
metabolic balance
for
offer
sure.
solely because you feel the most confident offering the best results. And so you're like, I know that this program is really, truly what you need. But absolutely, we do have several practitioners where this is one of several services, and that's great.
Okay. So as we're pivoting here, we're kind of coming into the end of the conversation. I think there's a bunch of questions people are going to have, right? They're going to have questions. How much does it cost? How do I get involved? All these kinds of things. I think let's um, kind of make sure in the notes of this, we'll make sure there's a link, Jen, to, I guess, your website, or we'll make sure as
Yeah.
part of this, we get a special link out to them. I don't think we want to spend too much time on that other than for the listener, we understand that's probably interesting to you. And we're going to make sure that that information's included. But I think there's two things I wanted to talk about. One is I have a game I'd love to play with you guys. I did some research on the Metabolic Balance program, and I have a quiz for you. But before I do that, I wanted to, this is always kind of interesting to me is what type of people, who struggles as a metabolic balance coach? Like, what are some of the struggles that people are going to, because I think sometimes with these things, success, and it sounds like what you guys are saying is success didn't necessarily come overnight. It sounds like success came from your passion, your belief in the system, but it also sounds like it kind of, so what did Jack Stone from, or Biz Stone from Twitter, the guy who founded Twitter said, you try and you work and you struggle and you fail, and then all of a sudden you're an overnight success, right? So that was his story about Twitter. But do you find like what are some of the things people need to recognize coming into this program if they're because it also sounds like you both had established businesses and kind of pivoted into metabolic balance. But if I'm coming out of school and I want to get into metabolic balance, what are some of the realities that I need to think about and be ready for as I'm building my business? Because it's that idea of overnight success. Um, it's true, but it's also, it takes work, right?
It takes commitment for sure. And I actually didn't have my own business prior.
Okay.
I was working as a full-time GM running a
Right,
gym
right, right, right.
and then a regional manager running the other clubs and the programs within the club. So being self-employed actually was new to me.
Okay.
And I would say there's only one single thing that some coaches do struggle with, and it is putting themselves out there. The
Mm,
consistency around putting yourself out there, getting on platforms like social media, which is optional. Don't get me wrong, we do have coaches that don't use it at all and they do great.
hmm.
But a lot of coaches, that is the one thing, is just the consistency around putting yourself out there, making sure people know about you, making sure that when they are finally listening to the signals in their body and they go, I absolutely need change, that you are the first person that they think of. And so that I'd say is the only thing. And that's what we've really focused on teaching and supporting our coaches with, is
Ah,
overcoming that, as
great.
well as tons and tons of avenues on how to put yourself out there. We've created the social media course. We give you social media templates. We teach you how to host and run your own webinars. We have live trainings twice a month. One is a guest speaker for education. One is strictly on, we call it Thrive Thursday, to grow your business. So we're really
Thrive
forward.
Thursday. Was it Thrive
Thrive
Thursday?
Thursdays. Yeah,
Okay,
Thrive
cool. I
Thursdays.
love
We
it.
do those monthly. And that is just focused on the business side of things, on actually growing your business. So that's the key thing. Being prepared to share with the world what you know is effective and how you know you can help, and kind of pushing through the comfort zone. And that's the
Okay.
one thing that we do see people. It's hard. It can be hard. But we're there to support you. We're there to help you through it. And then once you do start to see more success and more results, it becomes easier and easier to do.
Gotcha. Okay, so keeping the conversation going, I think that checks the same kind. We're on the same page there.
Mhm.
And also, it sounds like you're like, hey, this is the one thing people struggle with. So we purposely built some training to get you comfortable with this and help you get those, put some, I guess, training wheels on the bike until you can ride it on your own type of thing, right? Is that
You
about it?
got it. I love that analogy.
Laura, did you have anything to add to that?
I think when there's so much belief in the program, um, there's passion and excitement behind it, just really authentically. And that's where I would just tell all the coaches, just trust that authenticity and the
Mm,
story that you're telling and speaking from real experience and a real place and heart. And that resonates with a lot of people with ease, and they see real people doing real things, um, and just talking about that as if it's just every day. That
very
makes it
cool.
a lot easier than,
Very cool.
trying to find, different marketing venues or avenues or places where you have to really, script something when, like Jen said, you're just getting the word out there. But I find when there's so much belief in the result, it becomes so much easier.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. And I think that the key thing here that I'm hearing as well is you got to get out there. Don't be afraid. And if you are afraid, here's a better way to look at it. Be afraid. You're going to be afraid.
Yeah.
Embrace being uncomfortable. And once you embrace being uncomfortable, everything gets easier, right? Like everything gets easier. And it's man, it's probably a lot like swimming when we were kids, right? When before you jumped in the pool, it was scary and unknown. But as soon as you jumped in once or twice, you realized, oh, this is amazing. This is a great place to be. Sharing
Mhm.
your opinions and sharing success stories is, that's the live the test of time and having that consistency, right? To be doing it consistently and having a program for you. This all sounds great. I think everything you guys are doing, I'm always super stoked for metabolic balance stuff. I love stuff that's simple, but it's not, right? Like under the hood, there's a lot of moving parts.
Right.
But when you look at it from a client side perspective, like this isn't that hard to do. We're just going to kind of get you moving in the right direction. I've always loved the metabolic balance program in that way. And that leads into, see if I can share my screen here. And we're going to wrap this up with a little quiz that I have. So I was on your all website. Let me see. Can you guys see my screen here?
I can see it. Yep, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was on your website and I came across this report from the Journal of Nutrition and Metabolism. Metabolism? This I just did this.
Metabolism. Yeah, it
Metabolism,
Metabolism.
right? Yeah, this happened. This is
reads. Yeah, no, good.
okay. So this is a game we're going to play. And actually, Jen, I don't know if you remember, we did this once on one of the metabolic balance pilot when we were doing the pilot for the metabolic balance meal garden. We did this. So I got two numbers and a quote. And I'm curious if you guys know what these numbers represent. So let's start with 15. Do you know what the number 15 represents? Okay, so 15 is the average number of pounds that a metabolic balance client will lose over the course of 12 months. So that is substantial compared to other programs. That's a really great. I think another thing in there was 5% of your total body weight is kind of typically what happens. And I think again, the neat thing about metabolic balance is not really, I don't know if I would necessarily call it a diet as more of an eating plan to kind of get in line with what your body needs, right? So it's more of listening to your body than necessarily a quote unquote diet. But what happens is you just naturally get to the weight where you need to be. And most of us are carrying a lot of extra weight just because we're not eating the way our body needs us to eat. Is that fair? Is that a fair analysis?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And we will have, I mean, a lot of people do come to us for the weight management side of things,
Sure.
but
Weight
a lot of
management.
people
That's
do
it.
come specifically because they're struggling with how they feel, their quality of life, their brain fog, their low energy,
Right.
their sleep, so
Right.
on and so forth. So I could see how that is, yeah, an average number across the board. But the number one focus I always tell my clients is long-term sustainability, for sure.
Okay. So now we have the number 68. And that's a good lead in. I don't want to give it away here, but what do you think the number 68 represents?
I think I know this one.
Okay, fire away.
I'm going to say percentage, success percentage.
It's success percentage, it's good, but to build on that, it's the number of people that have maintained that success for 12 months or more and have
Right.
stayed engaged. So the habits that you have, and this comes from a peer-reviewed study, like you can see it on your website, and we'll share a link to the study in the notes here. But it's 68% after 12 months are still following the habits that have been kind of presented through the coaching program. That's the other stat I read was 90%, and that's the drop-off rate for other similar kind of commercial programs in the first 6 months. 90% drop-off versus 68% engagement 12 months later. That's hundreds of percentages of difference. So congratulations on that, and hats off to the team over in Germany. Because obviously,
Yeah.
and thank you for bringing metabolic balance to North America as well. So here's the last part though, and this is the kicker I think for metabolic balance is motivation and individualized design. What do you think, where do you think that I've kind of extracted that from?
I'd say the reason for success right there.
That's it. That's it, Laura. Good job. That's exactly what it said. That at the end of the report, it was like, what we've found is the reason people are so successful with the metabolic balance program is from the motivation provided by the coaches, that coaching culture, as well as the individualized nature of each plan. It's specific to that individual, and it just works better. It just works better. So it's really, it was a very compelling report. I'm glad I read it, and congratulations, you guys did very well on the
On the
very
quiz.
very well on the test here. Okay, so I'm going to
Love
stop
it.
sharing my screen. That was fun, and yeah, I think we will go back to speaker view.
Jen, there's just something interesting about those 15 pounds. I don't know if this is the same in your practice as well, but people that come and they say, I have tried everything, I'm doing it all, and I can't lose those last 15 pounds. That is a big part of who I'm seeing. They're
Ah,
at that frustration, the end of their rope. They've tried everything, they're doing everything, and they feel like they're eating well, they feel like they're eating clean. And then all of a sudden, we figure out what their chemistry is telling us. And then so those little tweaks that those 15 pounds are gone makes a big
Right on.
difference.
And
yep.
I love because I can confidently tell those clients that you will have the best results. When those clients come to you and they already care about their health, they already are mindful of what they eat, they get in their exercise, they have a good sleep hygiene routine, yet nothing is working, nothing will budge. Those are always the ones that do phenomenal, right? We do get people who come to us post-diagnosis. Oh my gosh, I just got put on diabetic medication, cholesterol medication. And sometimes they were used to hitting a drive-through for breakfast, bagels in the morning, whatever the office ordered at lunch, and putting together something maybe not the healthiest at dinner. And for them, it maybe takes a little bit more coaching and effort to make the healthier changes, but just as dramatic results, which is so exciting. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that sustainable 15 is really significant for so many people.
Okay. Right on. Well, I think the last part here might be kind of just the idea of what does this have to do with Meal Garden, right? And one
Yes.
of the things that this has to do with Meal Garden is over the last year, I've been working with metabolic balance coaches and the metabolic balance team to build kind of a metabolic balance meal garden where there's shared recipes, there's shared resources. There's kind of a kind of an app and the ability to build these long-term memberships. So we've been working on a metabolic balance meal garden. And if any of the existing meal garden coaches want to join the metabolic balance meal garden, they can go ahead and do that. And we'll have some information on that as well. But it's a really great partnership of kind of tweaking the way Meal Garden works to make it easier to follow those protocols, I guess. And I think one of the strengths is this is a thing that I've heard over and over and over again from your coaches is when somebody asks, "What do I eat?" Right? Not like, well, how do I do this? Being able to find those recipes and meals and quickly find them, customize them, share them with the clients is always one of those areas where I think, from what I've heard, is if you need to do that, it's a real hair pulling experience without a centralized system. And I know Metabolic Balance at large has got, tried to build this and tried to do different things, but there's always that um, a lack of a central repository or a central source of truth for this information. I think that's what we've been working on. And anybody who signs up and becomes involved with Metabolic Balance will have access to the Metabolic Balance Meal Garden, which again just provides those kind of neat little things to help you build your business and makes it easier for you to respond to that idea of like, hey, this is what it looks like, right? This is actually what it looks like as you get into phase 3 and phase 4 and beyond. Where do you find yummy foods that match the protocols, I guess? I think that's the term. That just kind of like it's so there is some science here, right? Not necessarily magic, but there's some science to how you eat, right? Was that fair?
That's fair. And I'm really excited about this because to have that user-friendly app platform, and the nice thing about Metabolic Balance Meal Garden is that every time a metabolic balance friendly recipe is added by one of our coaches who's, created a recipe for their client, everybody has access to it. So it's just going to grow. It's just going to evolve. There's already hundreds of metabolic balance recipes in it right
Mm-hmm.
now, but it's just going to evolve and grow and grow and grow. And so before you know it, there's going to be thousands, and it's going to be such a useful addition for your metabolic balance clients to have access to.
Yeah, and we'll touch on that more. We'll maybe add a video in here with this scope of information kind of pointing out. I love doing demos, so I can do that after. But yeah, so I think last question I always like to ask is, what question did you expect me to ask that I haven't asked? And we'll start with Laura. What's one question you thought I would ask that I haven't asked?
Um, Gosh, I don't know. I think I probably thought I expected you to ask me what metabolic balance means to me. I
Okay.
think I that's where I expected not so much about my practice and my business, but me.
Well, go, please do share.
I think health and wellness really, from where I'm coming from, I had my own journey with some health scare. And I don't ever want anyone to feel like they have to get to that point to elevate their health and wellness. And and so when I think about health and wellness, really the foundation of that is food. It's how we fuel our bodies.
Mm.
And so it does have a personal place for me, just because it was part of my own health scare and journey. But I feel like we don't need to get to that level to have the best life and to have the vitality that we all deserve and the longevity. And so a lot of what I bring into my practice for my clients is understanding their why and
Mm.
really getting at the root of that. And I feel like that's an important and very critical part of how I have a connection with my clients. So that's just a really personal part of my journey, but also I make it very critical to have my clients really be clear on their why.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm really glad we asked that question. Well, I didn't ask that question, but I'm glad I asked that question. Jen, what's the one question you thought I was going to ask you that I didn't ask?
Oh, I love that. And I think by being here with us today, I mean, there's just not enough good things. Like so many good things that we could talk about metabolic balance and what it means to each and every one of us and how grateful we are to do what we love. Personally, I do accountability check-in Fridays with all of my clients, and I get to start every single weekend with like my cup absolutely overflowing with just so much gratitude. But the question side of, the question I'd say on the business side of things, which we won't, a lot of people are really interested, like you talked in, not only the cost, what's associated becoming a coach, but realistically, what can I expect out of running my own business? And
Mm.
we will, when you do get this, it will link right to joining a coach. There is a full becoming a metabolic balance coach information video that walks you through exactly what the income potential looks like. But what I will say is from a metabolic balance head office view, our number one priority is our coaches have really successful, thriving businesses. And so I have been in a place where I was really doing what I love and doing really meaningful work, but making very, very little, not enough to support a family, or certainly with our cost of living, not enough to afford luxuries like family vacations or things like that. I actually didn't know, because metabolic balance is so personalized and offers so much value. It is a high ticket item. People are more than willing to pay for the service, the protocol, the blood work, the plan, the doctors in Germany, the accountability check-ins, everything that you offer, that I was absolutely wowed, blown away at the level of success I could have also doing what I love. When you match those two things together, it's it's so rewarding and it feels so good. So to touch on that piece of that, follow the link, Metabolic Balance, Becoming a Coach video will walk you through all of those pieces, because I do think it is also important to plan for and to know what that expectation is as well.
Okay. Okay. So you work hard. There's lots of opportunities. Thank you both for spending this time with me today. And I am very excited for all the meal gardeners to join the metabolic balance movement. And I am, shout out to Vera too, right? Like, she helped us connect and has done so much to grow the business. So thanks for all the help from Germany. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you both in Meal Garden, and maybe on another call we'll do maybe a live call with some meal gardeners for question and answer. That might be really useful.
I would love that. Thank you so much for having us, Jeff.
Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, Jeff.